Let's first address the elephant in the room. Can Twitter go down? Absolutely, it can.
Welcome to Busy Brain Club, where thinking is free and we should do more of it. In this video, we're going to take a look at the behind the scenes at Twitter. Now, it's kind of a geeky video, but you have to realize no other corporation allows you this kind of visibility into their meetings. It's a whole mashup that I created from the Twitter Space meeting between Elon and the engineers at Twitter. I also included a mashup of another engineer, Chris Titus, a month ago, who analyzed the Twitter white papers about their infrastructure. And pretty much everything he said or predicted is actually true. In fact, based on the conversations that went on between Elon and the engineers, it might even be worse. So even though in the media, the policies of Twitter and who gets banned and who doesn't get banned is what gets the most attention, the biggest problem Twitter is facing is its tech infrastructure. I'm going to do less talking in this video. I'm just going to let the clips play. If you do want to listen to the full clips for both, I'll leave them in the description.
Today we're talking about Twitter infrastructure. Now, I've had a couple drinks because we're going to go through some PTSD.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing. So, which is like really kind of mind blowing to think about it. But it took me a few weeks to actually even wrap my head around it. Google, or so I should say, Twitter's advertising is actually, for the most part, irrelevance optimizing. And so it's like, wait a second, like, what do you mean irrelevance optimizing? Well, when I ask people who've used Twitter for a while, it's like, how many things have you bought on Twitter? The answer is usually nothing. But it's like, well, how many things did you buy on Instagram? Oh, I bought a whole bunch of stuff last week. It's like, well, don't you think it's interesting that you wouldn't have accidentally bought something on Twitter after all this time? And like, the reason you haven't is because the ads are maximizing irrelevance. I feel like I'm stuck in a Douglas Adams novel. It's like the spaceship was powered by maximum improbability.
And really, the big thing I want to tackle in this one is an objective view of Twitter's infrastructure. I want to lay it out as I understand it. I had to have a couple drinks over looking through their entire technology blog, which was kind of a hot mess. And I just want to make a video as I best understand their infrastructure and what the new team's going to be dealing with over there.
Look, I'm just saying that, like, I when I was going through this with some of the engineers a few weeks ago, it took me a moment. It was so insane that I couldn't comprehend it. It took me a while to actually understand.
Let's first address the elephant in the room. Can Twitter go down? Absolutely, it can. Gonna get juicy. It's gonna get real good. Ooh, man. I gotta tell you, looking at these documents, I'm like, oh, this could be a disaster. And whoever's got to clean up after this, dude, it's like a third level of hell. Even if Elon offered me $1 million, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole because, dude, that's gonna be some late nights.
So, like, it's difficult to, frankly, it's difficult to overstate the difficulty of adding stuff to adding features that should be easy to add are not easy to add because the stack complexity is extremely complex.
So can we do refactors for
my
6
God.
months?
So we've made some simplifications even in the last few weeks, but this is it will explode your mind to go through the entire stack. It's like, wow.
Well, but but an operating system doesn't run at scale. Like, this is doable, but I think it'd be pretty hard to do with continuity. To roll out this new stack promising no downtime on a clean rewrite seems very, very hard.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I think that's what will be needed long term.
internally. Your database is Manhattan.
Wait. Thrift is a Facebook product.
Which one?
Thrift is a Facebook product.
My point is that
we got the TFE, we got the GraphQL, we got the product mixer, we got the ranker,
Yep.
we got the Manhattan database, we got the Strato, we got the TweetPie, we got the Gizmo Duck, we got the Tweeter Memcache.
And then
what else
wait till you find out
What
they're
else you
all
want?
built on top of Finatra and Finagle, which are entirely custom Twitter open source Scala projects.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh,
My point is that if you have all of this custom and not like super standardized products, when 80% of your workforce happens to leave, now how much more difficult is it for new people or like even existing people to work with that infrastructure and be able to iterate on it, much less like refactor it?
I mean, I think I could do it, but I think it would take me 6 months.
Hilarious.
Go.
No, I think to your point, it takes a while. There's so much custom stuff that just understanding where everything is and how it all connects, I think is a matter. It takes at least a few weeks. So I think would be difficult to be productive, without at least a month of intense effort. I mean, and that would be like you're really good at software. I'd say if you can do something useful in a month. The case of Twitter, like I said, we have this challenge of trying to add view count to tweets, which I think is really going to make the site pop, because we'll see just how many people actually view your tweets. Like this is completely normal for video. So if you look at even a video on Twitter, it will actually show you how many views the video has gotten, and that gives you some indication of the popularity of the video, how interested are people in the video. So Twitter has views for videos, but does not have views for tweets. So you can tweet something and think, man, did anyone was it like a tweet fell in the forest and nobody heard it? Did anyone see my tweet? Actually, lots of people saw your tweet, but you don't know because they didn't want to put themselves out there by actually liking it or retweeting or replying. So the site will pop in a big way just showing view count of tweets, and people realize, holy smoke, a lot of people actually seeing my tweet. That's cool. And then, like I said earlier, we need to add functionality where you can like a tweet without advertising the fact that you liked it to the world, or being able to say that maybe you didn't like it in a I love that thing happened, like earthquake example. You don't love earthquakes, but it's noteworthy, certainly. And but putting a heart next to an earthquake, that's weird. So,
but the thing that I was kind of scratching my head on was they never sunset any of the legacy systems. From my understanding and from all the articles I read, all these are still referenced and still live and spun up. So, having to deal with all those legacy systems after the original engineers have left, that's going to be an interesting task for whoever sad individual gets tasked with that. Not enough money in the world to pay someone to do that. I'm just going to tell you right now, that is a tall order.
Completed? Oh no, now we have both Timeline Mixer and Home Mixer.
They're running simultaneously?
Yes.
Well, it's not very meaningful to deprecate something if it's still running, obviously.
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying, right? Nothing gets actually deprecated to Twitter. So Twitter has 3 APIs, and you can find this on public Twitter. If you go to Chrome Inspector, Twitter has a 1.1 API, a 2.0 API, a GraphQL API. It also has 1.1 developer and 2.0 developer. It has 5 APIs that I could find. And then there's other ones people have talked about too that I don't know how to find because I don't have Android emulator on my computer. This stuff needs to be cleaned up, and no one's doing it.
Isn't it? It's pretty common.
But Puppet is still very viable, still a very good solution, but they have literally 1 million lines of code of Puppet. That sounds like my own personal hell if I ever had to review that. I feel bad for any person having to review that. Looking at all this with Twitter, I don't know. I don't know how you manage this much data. I don't know where you go from here. All I got to say with Elon is, who cares about the headquarters? Who cares about the content system? Who cares about all this stuff that people are making a big hubbub about? If I look at this type of thing, I would try to retain as much as the senior engineers working at the data centers. Who cares about their office, their HQ with the personal chefs and all that stuff? The big thing that they need to worry about here is looking after these engineers. These engineers cannot be replaced by someone with industry knowledge very easily. This is a lot of legacy systems. This is a huge amount of stuff that has been propped up over the years with not very little advancement.
I use the same analogy at comma. Can we afford good food?
Yeah. Well,
it's really important to me.
No, I think we can afford good food. The madness of for example, the headquarters food budget was that it was $13 million a year of fixed rate, no matter how many people showed up. So if the normal meal price would have been, if the building was fully occupied, $20 for actually quite a good lunch. The food was good. But if you drop to 5% occupancy, you've now multiplied the effective meal cost by 20, and that's where you get a $400 lunch, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. The food was great. I loved the chia seed pudding and the smoothies in the morning. But yeah, you got to tell everyone to come into the office. It's crazy to me that people think they can have a job where they don't show up to an office.
Right, and like it seems like a logical thing if you have a building where there's literally 5% occupancy, that you would seek to renegotiate the food budget and not have it be 20 times more than it should be. But that was literally the case. So
the food's a lot worse now than it was. A lot worse.
Yeah, well, we can definitely improve that. Right. So that's not like I think some impossible thing to overcome. So
but no, I think
terrible food. This is not it's not going to break the bank. The issue is more you can't pay like $13 million a year for a mostly empty building for lunch, and not even including dinner. So
I could save $13 million by switching ads prediction from TF serving to Onyx runtime alone.
Yeah, I'm saying we can totally have a good lunch.
All right.
We're not in like lunch purgatory for the rest of the time. We may have gone too far, is what I'm saying. I admit we may have gone too far in cost cutting.
Love
with respect to the lunch. That could be the case. And so we'll have to we may have overcorrected in that regard, and we can fix it. This is not an insurmountable problem. Users and not like bots and trolls. I mean, like one of the super crazy things that I discovered, I only discovered this like basically about 10 days ago, was that Twitter was being scammed to the tune of $60 million a year for SMS texts, not counting North America. So I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, what do you mean? Like there's $60 million of SMS texts. Yeah, Twitter is paying telcos. Basically, there are telcos who are not being super honest out there in other parts of the world who were basically gaming the system and running like two-factor authentication SMS texts over and over again and just creating a zillion bot accounts to literally run up the tab so that Twitter would SMS text them and Twitter would just pay them millions of dollars without even asking about it. And now this created some problems because I said, well, we got to stop that. And I said, like, cut off any telco that's got fraud above 10%. Now that did cause some havoc in many parts of the world. And then people were like imputing like bad motives to it. But it was literally, I just said to the team, hey, cut off any telco where the fraud's above 10%. That turned out to be 390 telcos. I'm like, damn, that's high.
Oh my gosh.
Outside of North America, so I'm like, okay, I didn't know there were that many telcos in existence. But it turns out there's some, you get to like the fourth tier telco in Belarus, and you got some sketchy things going on.
But
So
now you have people complaining that they can't log into Twitter because their SMS doesn't work.
yes, and so like now we're going back to the telcos and saying, listen, if you stop scamming us, then we will gladly pay you some amount of money in SMS texts, but you can't turn a blind eye to relentless, bogus SMS texts. So then we're having that conversation with the telcos, and then we can turn them back on and say, listen, you just be reasonable. We'll take 10% of fraud. It's fine, but we're not going to take 90% fraud. So we're not going to spend $60 million a year on literally SMS texts outside of North America. So a bunch of those users were just fake, and like literally for the purpose of running up Twitter's tab on SMS texts. Kid you not, this is insane. So now, but to your point of making Twitter easier to use, like that, okay, at that point, yes, you need an account.
Then why did people put the pop-up back? They said you said they could do it.
Which pop-up?
The pop-up that I emailed you the first week that I wanted to remove. The one that when you scroll on Twitter when you're logged out.
I didn't say we should put okay, that's the miscommunication.
Oh, great. Let's get rid of it again. Right? Because I got rid of it entirely. I got rid of it entirely. They added it back and they messed up adding it back so it wasn't dismissible. And then they fixed that 5 days later. But like they didn't mean to make it non-dismissible and it was non-dismissible. And I'd love to remove it altogether.
Yeah, it's not clear to me why, unless there's some reason that I'm not aware of, we should not be prohibiting just a read-only scroll.
No, there's no reason except that people are scared to lose quote-unquote MDAO.
Yeah, this optimization of MDAO is like, I think creating a bizarre incentive structure that doesn't make sense.
It's endemic in the organization. They love MDAO.
Yeah.
How that integration's going, and if they ever shut down any of these legacy systems. There's so many unanswered questions here. But again, I'd have to say, if I was Elon, I'd be sending all those personal chefs over to the data centers, the people in that have all the industry knowledge. I wouldn't care about any of the actual corporate people in the headquarters. The engineering backend is not something you can just slap any individual in. There are people in Silicon Valley that could come in, geniuses that could come in and do this, but it's going to take multiple geniuses to untangle what's going on at Twitter in the back end of the infrastructure, because this is not just, hey, grab some guy. And I definitely couldn't do it. And I'm just going to tell you, I might be able to piece together a couple people that could help me untangle some of it, but I still would not be 100% confident going in there trying to fix or retain this stuff, where I would still need more personnel. This is a pretty big job. In case anybody was wondering, because I just had to make this video as I saw a comment saying, hey, it's just a bunch of simple AWS scaling setup. This ain't that at all. And there's a lot of stuff going on at Twitter in the infrastructure realm that's really interesting. So hopefully Elon's pretty nice to those network engineers, and he goes, okay, those are the really important guys. Those guys working in these data centers, they're really the true heroes, the ones there that are in control of these things, because if those all get let go, yeah, we could see some epic outages.
So as you can see, Elon Musk has his hands full. Twitter is a mess, but they're working overtime to fix it. And based on all of what I'm hearing, don't be surprised if one day you hear Twitter goes down. A temporary outage, but they're working on some fragile infrastructure.